Hello. You're listening to What the Fuck Do We Know? QAnon is very popular these days online. A lot of people talk about QAnon and Q. Who is Q? Have no idea. I don't really care. Honestly, I don't even fucking understand QAnon, quite frankly. But it is very popular. And what is it?
Is it still popular, first of all? Because I feel like it used to be much more popular.
I think it was more popular in like 4 years ago.
Because I feel like we are late to the party. But like I did not research it.
I don't think like followers of Q. Well, I guess many followers of Q dropped off when several things that Q said was going to happen in the last 4 years, especially around the election or around the 2020 election, didn't happen. I guess a lot of followers came to their senses. Well, I say that and it shows that I'm prejudiced here.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually something I want to talk about later. But I think there are some conspiracies, conspiracy theories. They seem more reasonable, and some seem like 100% crazy.
Well, we didn't introduce that it was conspiracy. That's why I mentioned QAnon.
But so this is one of those theories that I think is completely nuts.
Because QAnon?
Yes, because there's so many things.
Well, I guess like Q is not the conspiracy itself, but the theories that QAnon
QAnon as a conspiracy theory. Like, I mean,
well, Q? There is a kind of body that is Q. I don't know who or what.
I mean, Q is as a person who wrote in a forum.
I don't know who writes on the forum, but there are posts on forums. That
yeah, sure.
That is in the image of like that are represented as though they are written by someone who bears the username Q.
Okay.
I don't know who it is. I think it might be several people. But there probably are posts. People do read posts from Q.
No, so that's not the conspiracy. It's not that part.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. The conspiracy, it's the theories that QAnon sprouts out. And there are a lot of them. So are all of them nuts?
Well, I don't know the details. I know the one general, the one foundational premise of this conspiracy as far as I understood it. But it has several elements to it. First, you have a group of elite people, right?
Elites. Oh, I hate that word right now.
Secret elites, obviously. Yeah. Who first...
Well, again, the elites are not secret, but what they do is secret.
I don't know if they actually drop names. Probably they do.
Clintons.
Well, of course. Whoever is against
Soros.
Trump... Yeah, whoever is against Trump is also...
No, okay.
Because like the ridiculous thing that obviously Trump is fighting it,
right?
But secretly, yes, because he doesn't want to tell anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so these people first, they believe in Satanism.
The elite, yeah.
Second, they eat people. They are cannibalists.
Yeah. So
Third,
I think the most popular is after the Satanism is the adrenochrome thing with the children.
Yeah, and they also like human trafficking, and also pedophiles.
No. It's like actually harvesting stem cells from.
Oh, no, I haven't read about it.
You ever heard of this?
No.
So they're harvesting stem cells and they're eating this to stay young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So another reason why they're taking the children.
So why it is nuts? So I'll compare it with conspiracy theories. Really, I was going to. That is also nuts. Yeah.
Moon landing.
Vaccination. I was going to go with vaccination.
Is that conspiracy theory? Because I was looking into it and I don't know if I'd consider it a conspiracy theory.
Well, if it is, there are many of them
around. There's a conspiracy era of it where people believe that this is like some kind of coming together of pharmaceutical giants and
and scientists,
big pharma and scientists conspiring to release this thing. Okay, yeah, okay.
And it causes it's something like Down syndrome, I guess.
Autism.
And autism, right. So, but why vaccination for me is just much easier to understand people who believe in it. Because vaccination is generally, in my opinion, it's not a very intuitive thing, right?
Sure.
If you explain a person, if the person doesn't know anything about our immune system and how bacteria work and viruses work, and like you explain to the person, okay, this thing kills you, and now we're gonna put this thing in your body, and it's gonna save you. This is not intuitive. Also, people don't know much about biology, and if you don't
explaining it to them is also kind of hard because you're going to use words that people don't really care.
Yeah. So, and also, if people don't trust, maybe they're just skeptical. Generally,
I think that's the first step. Is like what level? Because I may not, even if I didn't know more about like the immune system as I do, I'm someone who trusts doctors.
Yeah. So if you have some distrust and then this thing, and then like someone comes to you, we're going to put it in your body and you don't really know what that is. So I can understand it.
Also, there are doctors who also say that, who distrust vaccines. So you can find someone.
You can find someone. Here with QAnon, it's just you have, okay, what is the probability of someone believing in Satanism? Quite low.
Well, but there are Satanists.
There are Satanists, but like, very few people believe in it.
There is a church of Satan.
There is one.
Check their population.
Second, what is the probability of a person being a cannibal?
Also low.
What is the probability of a person being a human trafficker?
But you have to then look into who they are calling this. So they have this idea of the number. Check Church of Satan.
Satan?
No. They have this idea, and this is something that has been maybe in many ways just spread and consolidated by film, that rich people always rich people are eccentric. They always go for the weird stuff. Rich people have sex clubs and they do all these things that are just out of the ordinary because they have money and they have this need to do things. So that really kind of helps like feed this conspiracy because it's just general belief and may not be the truth. A lot of rich people are not like having sex parties, but it's general belief thanks to media, film, books, music, and also rich people that people have seen that rich people always go
Epstein.
do all this. Yes, Epstein, Diddy, Weinstein, that rich people go and they do this. Rich people have power and they take advantage of this power by doing a lot of weird shit that normal people don't do. Because they have this need to satisfy something in them, so to speak. Yeah. So there is also that. So it didn't really come out of nowhere,
It's
I'm not defending a QAnon
because all of those.
I'm just saying this is how it's easy for like somebody. I like to say Middle America. I have no idea what that is, but people like to say that. Someone in Middle America who is like I don't know, a builder and has like a low income life reads this and already they have some kind of animosity towards rich people.
Makes sense. Yeah, they do all of those things. But I mean,
Middle America has builders. Which one are you? What part of my statement are you refuting?
I have no idea what you're referring to. But anyway, so you have these 4 different super unlikely things, and you say, okay, one person does all of that, but you go further. You say that a group of people do all of that, and that group of people also have enormous power that is...
No, but the power comes before. Like, the group of people that do it happen to be a group of people that have power. It's not because of doing that they have power.
Sure, but that is also, like, very few people also have power.
I don't think it's that far-fetched as you think.
It honestly is, for me, it's just straight, it's nuts.
Honestly, because I grew up understanding as, like, that rich people do a lot of crazy shit.
But crazy like what? What is the craziest
I grew up
thing
in Nigeria.
that you've seen or like you've
trafficking.
Heard?
And
it's not trafficking.
It's not like I've heard. It's a thing that happens. And ritualistic killing. It's not I've heard. This is actually something that I know. But not like I'm not going to generalize and say all rich people, but I know at least 1 or 2 rich people have done ritualistic killing because they have this idea in their head that they kill this young person or this baby or whatever, and it feeds some kind of god and they can draw, money from it. So there are people that do crazy shit like this. And I grew up believing that rich people do shit like this, And so if I didn't have like a head on my neck, I could fall for something like
that. You'd be the victim of their killing? Or
No. I could fall for like QAnon's nonsense.
Oh.
Because if I grow up thinking that, okay, I see rich people, mostly are politicians in Nigeria, by the way. They have power and they want to keep power. Means they do a lot of crimes. That's not like me bringing
and sacrifices.
Well, honestly, they do.
Power.
They do. It's actually a thing that it's an open secret. And it doesn't work, obviously, but they believe it works.
Mm-hmm.
But they do a lot of things to keep and consolidate power. And they do a lot of crimes. They control a lot of criminal, organizations in the country. So for Nigerians, it's not, I grew up hearing of the Illuminati all the time. So for people there who are religious as well, it's not far-fetched.
You see, it's just, if you have at least one thing, like Illuminati, there is a secret society that controls this government within one country. That is not that far-fetched.
One country.
Oh, global is already, it's much more unrealistic, but I can still see that. But when you have so many things put together, and then Trump is fighting all of them in secret. Why in secret?
No, first because they don't want Trump to be part of them. Is he shy
or what?
No, because I don't know
His
why.
secret hero.
But anyway, he's very humble.
Yeah.
His humility is his greatest.
But he pretends not to be humble because
he's undercover.
Right.
Deep undercover. Anyway, funny enough, he might be the only person amongst this list that might have actually assaulted a child. Anyway, I'm not allegedly.
Just a random accusation.
No, it's not random. It's actually a thing that exists because of being on the Epstein list and Epstein parties. I'm not just pulling it out of my ass, but allegedly, I should say before we get sued by anybody who listens to this shit.
But when I read about conspiracy, I did
want to say something, and I've forgotten it, but I can remember it. Give me a second. Oh yes, you forget the main thing. It starts from what? Satanism. That is the core of it. It's when people believe that, and Satanists are people that exist. And when you think of Satanism, you think the people that this affect most are Christians. I think largely, right? I'm not sure, but I think more.
I haven't checked.
QAnon believes. I think there are more Christians. If you think about, so there are two things. There is the Satanist stuff, the cannibalism thing. We'll come to it. Then there's the child stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of people consider that the LGBTQ is connected to pedophilia. There has been a rise and increase in openness and awareness about the LGBTQ existence in general, which led to a lot of gay people being open and being very, out in society. And also trans people are beginning to be open. There's a lot of backlash for that. There's a lot of things, gay people being there, it's all pedophilia. Trans people is pedophilia. They're trying to change our children. They're trying to mutilate our children. They're trying to take our children. This is not that far-fetched when you think about it being rooted in just going towards Christian people, like your Christian values are being under attack. If you say Satanism, people will believe whatever comes with Satanism. If you mention children, people will say, oh, that's why the LGBTQ stuff is coming or the trans stuff is coming. I don't think it's that far from for a Christian to say.
Or maybe for a Christian. I don't really have a good model
to connect to this kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But what also surprised me, I sent you this survey.
All right. Do you want me to open it right now?
No, you don't have to open it. But one... You don't really have to open it. But sure? one of the questions was about QAnon.
Yeah.
And what surprised me is that, of course, the Republican supporters and Trump supporters are more common to believe in basically all conspiracy theories. But Democrats and Biden supporters, they're also the numbers were quite high. And even for QAnon, the numbers were around 10%.
10%
who believe it's high. And another one was regarding the election, the fraud. And also Democrats, 10% of Democrats believe that it happened.
Election fraud. Yes, but did you check what they consider election fraud? Because for Republicans, it's actively interfering, Democrats are stealing votes, changing votes. For Democrats, a lot of it is Republican policies to try to restrict or disenfranchise voters by all these things about ID and all this gerrymandering and all these different actions. Because Republicans do that. Georgia recently released a website that allows people to cancel another person's voter registration. And all you have to do is provide a name.
Americans just complicating things. Gerrymandering is just ridiculous. And just some rules in America.
A lot of Democrats believe that if elections were actually fair, it will represent, because majority of elections now Democrats win popular votes in the presidential election. So they believe that if there was no like gerrymandering, if there were not all these policies that Republicans keep bringing up with voter registration, voter ID, this canceling this vote, mailing voting should not be counted here, etc., putting the election date on a work day and things like that, and like the polling stations and having all these people watching people voting. So they think that this affects, but I don't know if there are people who believe that there was actually stealing them. Because as I understand, this is what Democrats think is election fraud, is that they're actually actively trying to stop people from voting.
Okay, maybe. I don't really remember the phrasing, the wording of the question, so it could have been the case. But when I was reading about conspiracy theories and just generally what it is, it's just what I found interesting is that they try to draw a line between conspiracies and conspiracy theories. And basically, don't touch me. Come on, be serious. So, conspiracies versus conspiracy theories. What I don't like is that basically...
What don't you like?
Conspiracy theories is basically, by definition, are wrong. And I don't like when you have a term that is basically, by definition, something
Define conspiracy.
Bad. Well, a conspiracy is, first of all, you have the conspiracy component, right? But on top of that, what distinguishes it from just a conspiracy is that it contradicts an alternative view that has a consensus among experts, like historians or scientists.
It's a theory or a conspiracy theory?
It is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, okay, I see.
And that basically means that a conspiracy theory is by definition, something bad, and if something wrong, something wrong, right? And if then it somehow gets disproven, that it becomes a conspiracy.
Well, let me look for the definition that I saw, and I'll read it to you, of conspiracy theories. Hold on. So, theories according to which there exists some type of secret collusion for any type of purpose. In practice, it usually refers to implausible theories.
Implausible, okay.
Yes. Used to explain social facts that have other considerably more plausible explanation. So it doesn't mean wrong. Implausible doesn't mean wrong.
Well, usually.
It just means...
But the thing is that at the point when you actually gather enough evidence so that the conspiracy explanation becomes more prevalent, then it stops being a conspiracy theory and becomes just a conspiracy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's happened before. Probably.
Okay, they often mention Watergate, exactly. But
also, this
was it a conspiracy theory?
No, I guess that a lot of people did before it came out that it actually happened. I guess that Democrats were talking about the possibility of it, and for those then it was. Well, but I don't know much about Watergate.
Well, I tried surface level. Me neither. But I just asked ChatGPT to give me the surface level.
Oh, I know the basics of it, but I don't know how quick it happened that.
But the thing is that those guys were arrested on spot.
Yeah, but did they immediately mention that they were sent by the?
There was probably several weeks.
Yeah,
there
so
was a
I
statement.
think that
probably there was
conspiracy is that people were saying that these people were sent by the Republicans to break into this.
So, but in all these conspiracies, I guess that actually turned out to be true. It's just what differentiates them from what we usually call conspiracy theories is
there was no other standing plausible theory.
Right.
Like actually confirmed by other people plausible theory in these cases, I think.
Well, probably we don't know about this specific case because we didn't
the Earth
research
was
it.
round. Can you imagine that it was a conspiracy at some point?
Which one? Sorry.
The Earth is round. It was a conspiracy theory.
The Earth is round.
Because a lot of people did believe that it was flat.
Yeah, but it's...
So you can imagine when the first person started saying
the history of this theory is so old.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just imagine that if a lot of people believe it was flat, and then somebody starts saying it is round, people would consider it.
No, but the thing is that people... This is a bad example, in my opinion, because people used to believe it even before everything, right? And for a conspiracy, you need someone to conspire about it. But people used to believe about flat Earth, in flat Earth, even before,
so the
without the idea that someone conspires them.
No, the conspiracy is not the flat Earth. The conspiracy is the round Earth. I'm saying everybody believed that it was flat.
Yes.
Then some people came up and said it was round. So the people who were saying it was round were spreading some sort of conspiracy theory at that point. Because for a lot of people, it was different. Like for a lot of people, it was more reasonable that we did it like we saw a flat surface, so the Earth was flat.
No, but when they came out and said, "Hey, the Earth is
Do you
round,"
think people immediately
they didn't
believed
say.
that?
No, they didn't.
Okay, and they
But
were
that wasn't a conspiracy theory, because people who supported round Earth, they didn't say someone is conspiring to make the Earth
but that's not just the only thing about this conspiracy theory. It's about
someone
the
has to
plausibility
conspire
of it.
But someone also has to conspire.
Other flat earthers could say, no. There's not the round people. I'm saying for the flat earthers, these round people were spreading a conspiracy theory.
And they turned out to be wrong.
Yes,
Okay.
but still, the flat earthers could have imagined that it was scientists who were saying that the Earth was round. People who believed in flat Earth, many of them were not scientists.
But we are discussing theories that turned out to be true.
We are also trying to think and have an imagination.
I don't.
Jesus.
Okay, what is your
imagination?
point? I'm trying. What is your point?
So stressful to talk with people who are less just creatively
this is your life.
enlightened.
This is your life. You get used to it.
Listen, I'm telling you to imagine how we're talking about conspiracy theories that turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you to imagine how a flat earther, which was the norm in the past, could have seen a bunch of scientists coming out to say, the Earth is actually round.
Okay.
So this flat earther, who was probably not educated,
But we still have them. Why do you need to go?
Because I'm talking about that time.
Okay, go ahead. I don't need to imagine it.
Because now it's the other way around, where people consider the flat earthers as a conspiracy theory. I don't know what people are talking about now. But anyway, in that time, so this person was less educated and probably saw scientists not only as they were better, but saw them also some sort of way as some sort of like bad people or some enemy, because people don't usually like to see people who are better than them. And saw a bunch of scientists coming together to release new statements about the shape of the Earth, and could have found a way to make it a conspiracy. I'm not sure how this is hard for you to imagine.
Another example.
If you can imagine anti-vax, it's literally the same thing as anti-vax.
No, it's just, I mean, we already, I'm not sure I fully understand you, but I suggest to move on. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I don't understand. Are you like temporarily stupid or something?
I don't want to argue about it.
What's there to argue about? It's just like using your head to create something that probably didn't exist. Oh my God.
But that's the thing regarding differences. So first, also, I think there is usually, if there is a conspiracy, usually it doesn't exist for a prolonged period of time. And then like suddenly, like for years, and then suddenly it is uncovered and actually proved that it is true. Usually it is very...
I'm listening to you. Okay, continue.
Very carefully. So usually it is some leak or a whistleblower, right? The information gets into media, and then immediately there is some kind of investigation, and then immediately this is uncovered, and that's about it. You don't have a conspiracy that lives on the internet for like years or decades or centuries.
George
and
Bush
then turns out
was
to be
responsible
true.
For.
And then
it turns out to be true.
Yeah.
Just to leave, George Bush was responsible for 9/11, still alive.
No, yeah, some conspiracies, flat Earth, it exists still.
Why is flat Earth a conspiracy? If that was the norm.
Flat Earth right now is a conspiracy. It wasn't a conspiracy like...
How did it become a conspiracy?
Well, because right now flat earthers say that scientists and like politicians conspire.
This is literally what I just said.
Okay, well done. No, but before it used to be people that was their hypothesis, but there was no conspiracy part in it, because they didn't actually say that someone conspires against us to prove this different alternative version of round Earth.
You don't imagine that nobody said that?
No, I don't think they said that someone is conspiring to convince us.
What changed?
What changed is
what
that
made
right
it
now...
become that people are conspiring now?
Well, because right now we have scientists who prove that this is wrong.
The people who started saying it, were they not scientists?
No, what time are we talking about? I'm talking like 2,000 years ago. People just believed it. People didn't think that.
When did people start saying the Earth was probably round?
Well, probably 17th century, like Galileo.
Okay.
I mean, there were theories in ancient Greece.
Were they not scientists?
Well, not proper scientists.
Let's move on, because you literally said what I said, and I didn't understand why you were acting stupid. Okay. Go on. Yes, no. Conspiracies don't live long with that and turn out to be true. Although the thing with the Tuskegee guys, I imagine that there were people who were I don't know though, because I tried
Which
to read
one?
it. Oh, these guys with the African Americans who
syphilis study.
thing.
I just wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
I just learned about it, and this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I imagine that people did talk about it because they were, these people were dying of syphilis or something.
I imagine no one talked about it.
Well, I don't know. I guess some people must have said. Because now what it created is that a lot of people, especially African-American men and people, don't trust the government when it comes to medicine and comes to treatment because of this.
Because this is such a crazy story. Because is it?
But they didn't have at that time protections on consent from informed consent during medical research.
Well, it's not really a good moral excuse.
No, it's not, definitely.
Yeah. But
ethically, I think it was also wrong because they continued.
What I think is crazy, and also I'm not sure if we can call it a conspiracy again here, because practically they published all these results throughout all these years, 40 years, or how long the experiment lasted, and so it was out in the public. No one just paid attention to it.
Medical, you have to consider that maybe it was released in the public, yes, but you also consider who was paying attention to these publications.
Right, but it was available to the entire public.
But how much of the public was
no one read it.
There was no Google.
But that was also so. It's weird that no scientists actually said this is fucking weird. Well, the methodology is fucking weird.
It is a commentary on the state of racism in the country at that time.
But it doesn't make sense from scientific perspective either.
You have to think about how racist the scientific community was for people to see it and read it.
So you think they just wanted black people to suffer?
No, I don't think that they wanted black people to suffer. I think that they just didn't care enough that it was black people that were going through it, because it was black people that were going through it.
Yeah, but it just from what I understand, I don't know how they justified it.
But they said it was for the advancement of...
For the advancement, yes. But after you already learned that penicillin can fully treat it, why do you need to know the consequences of syphilis? And you already roughly know what they are anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
It was racism.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by this story.
I don't think that other scientists were like, oh, okay, it's black people, let's kill them. But I just believe that they didn't care because. But again,
it's not really a conspiracy theory because it's just
out in the open. I feel like a lot of when you say out in the open,
and no one actually believed. No one knew about it till it was whistleblowed.
Yeah, till there was a whistleblower. But when you say out in the open about the results, you do have to consider the time it was. This thing started from 1932 to 1972. People were going to the library only to read what they wanted, what was important for them. A farmer was not going to the library to read a medical journal. He couldn't access it on Google, etc. So when you say the information was out there for them, it wasn't really. It was out there for people who cared to know about it. A lot of people didn't know about it. The people they chose to work with were poor people, very poor people, illiterate people who wouldn't know about this. Although they were doing it in a black university, that's another thing that surprised me. And I don't know how much the black employees knew of the details of this experiment that they were doing, of this research. I don't know, because it was in a black university. So I have no idea what the extent of knowledge was on, but it's a very shameful thing. Just from an ethical.
So for me, it's just. I'm not the kind of.
It's a very big commentary on the state of racism in the country at that time.
It's just for me. It's I'm not actually necessarily against. I think we could actually experiment. No, not race. Just experimenting on people more than we do right now.
I'm against it.
I think that on average it would save more lives if we were more liberal about it.
Killing some people just to save other people.
No, but I am pro consent. They should be paid. They should be They should know what the risks are.
This when you say you're pro consent, it's good that we want pro consent, but when you say we should allow these things happen, what is somebody who who will suffer from this? It's poor people. Because if you say we're going to pay you, give you some consent, a person would think, oh, my family would benefit from this. It's not I want to be of use to scientific community.
And they will save a lot of people and get money.
So it is still not a thing.
And free healthcare, maybe we can.
It doesn't matter because you're still going to kill someone, and you're killing a person who is for your research. Possibly kill someone for your research, and possibly kill a person who is disadvantaged enough that they were willing to put themselves in that position to get some advantage. It's still not going to be right for me.
For me, I think
when you say we're going to pay you money, you know who you're targeting. Because, rich people are not coming out of their rooms to come and give themselves for this research.
I agree.
So when you say you're going to pay people money, you have created a demographic for your study. And it's unethical from there.
I think that, first of all, of course, it shouldn't be just the first line of experiments. Of course, you have to go through animal models, etc., and then only humans. But I think we could be more liberal here.
People sign up for trials. That's enough.
Yeah, but there are a lot of restrictions.
My thing is, because the thing is when you create what you're talking about, you know the demographic you're going for.
No, but okay, who works the hardest jobs that have the most professional risk associated with them? Poor people. Who works on a coal mine? Poor people. Should it be illegal to hire poor people
this is a
to work on a coal mine?
Working a coal mine is not actively endangering somebody's life. It is not. It's a different thing.
We know there is a risk of lung cancer increases
when you go to work in a coal mine, there is a risk that you're taking. When you're joining to go on a medical research,
it's also probabilities.
Don't know that the medical team is actively endangering your life. You know who you're reaching to. It is not a thing about jobs.
What is the difference?
Work is a choice that people make, and they go and they make money.
This is also work.
It is not work.
Why not? You have to go somewhere.
Would you go and give yourself for it?
It depends on the money. It depends on the risks.
Depends on the money because you know how much money you need. What risk? Because if the risk is death.
There is always a risk of death. You can die in a coal mine.
So that is a risk there.
You can die in a coal mine.
Depends
on
the
risk? No, it depends on
what risks?
Well, there are different degrees of the risks,
death.
Obviously. There are different probabilities of the death. There is a death. I can get into an accident. Like every time I take a taxi, there is a risk of death.
Into a medical experiment that will check how, we're not even talking about anything, that checks the symptoms or the signs or the representation of a disease in its late stages. If it is left untreated, will you go into that experiment?
So if you have to leave untreated a disease.
That is what the Tuskegee experiment
I'm not talking.
What are you talking about?
No, I'm not talking about this specific. No, not this example. I was referring generally to experimentation on humans, not like getting a disease and having it for 30 years.
Experimentation by what? By drugs? Experimenting
drugs.
That's a different thing.
Drug testing.
If you're experimenting on someone by saying we'll give you this disease and will not treat you.
No, that is.
What the fuck is that?
I agree, like for 30 years, having a disease for 30 years, I agree that is not okay. I wouldn't agree with it.
Years to say somebody will give you this disease and will not treat you and will watch it.
There is usually no point in that.
Because we want to see how we want to see how it represents at a later stage.
I just don't think there is a point in that because usually you have people who are at all stages of the disease, so you can already see.
There were people who had late stages of syphilis as well in that time.
Right. So, but when you don't have treatment, it makes sense to do it. When you do have treatment, it doesn't.
When you don't have treatment, it makes sense to treat a person and see how it helps, not to leave them without treatment. What are you talking about?
I agree. That is also true. But you also need a control group anyway.
I think the whole thing is fucked up. I don't like
it. Well, you don't think you need a control group?
I don't think you should do any experiments on human beings. Do it on animals.
And then just start treating and
find the closest fucking animal.
But what do you have? Do you approve the drug after animal testing?
Yes.
But don't you think that puts even higher number of people at risk
after animal testing?
Yes, because we already do animal testing and then human testing, and then we.
No, I prove you can do human trials after animal testing.
But that's how it happens. Usually.
I'm fine with what is happening now. Not some random thing that you're doing.
I agree.
You're bringing out in your head.
No, I agree. That animals should come first, but then your policies can still be more liberal.
Simply don't infect anybody with shit because you want to check how. Infect yourself. Do us a service. Let's see it in you. All the medical professionals that want to check how a disease shows itself in later stages, get the disease yourself.
I'm sure some have done it.
Check each other. Those guys are good. Don't fucking take other people and do your sample. Check each other if you really want to know and help the universe.
Okay, so why do you think people believe in conspiracy theories?
Well, it's all this rage against the machine thing. I think it comes down to it.
The what?
Rage against the machine thing.
The government?
Yeah. It's like, it's just anti-elite. This whole thing of just being anti the more powerful group. I think that's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people who usually fall prey to conspiracies, I think that there's a difference from people who kind of like light the torch, and burn the fire and just kind of like blow air on the fire and try to make it
just for fun.
Not just for fun, because for political purposes, like you have
money.
Like propagandists and stuff who do that. There's a difference between them and the people who believe them, the people who are sitting at home watching television, who don't have any kind of real connection to this world where they're hearing about, and they see some kind of anger because of their own situation and their own condition, especially when it's against politicians and rich people. A lot of people are not rich. A lot of people want to blame somebody for why they're not rich. And it's very easy to believe that these rich people are doing some crazy shit. That's why they are rich and you are not rich. So there's one thing. Another thing, I really think that religion plays a huge role in conspiracy stuff. As the conspiracies that I see now, I think that religion plays a huge role in them.
Let's come back to religion later. Although I don't really have much to say, but I wanted to ask you. But regarding the why people believe in it, so I think the one part of it is like kind of maybe even personality traits and general disposition of the person. So like whether they feel vulnerable or like whether they trust the people in power or not, because usually, as you said, it's like the conspirators, right? They have power, and so whether you feel insecure, whether you feel empowered. When you feel empowered, you feel like you can change things. You don't usually believe in conspiracy theories. So that's one part. Another part is just generally how human brain works, because people are wired to recognize patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually a good thing. It's like we are biologically, because without that, we wouldn't be able to we would basically stupid. We would just see a fucking car and it's moving your direction. You clip your eyes, you close your eyes and you think the car stopped. If you can predict the car movements, right? You have to predict, you have to track patterns. But here, sometimes there are false positives, right? And so this is a false positive. And I read that some people are just better at recognizing patterns. And it seems like a good thing. But if you're better at recognizing patterns, there are more false positives.
Well, like the woman that I sent to you.
Which one, sorry?
The one who did the whole thing about COVID. First, they called it Corona, which means...
Oh, my, yeah, exactly. And it's like, I couldn't even track it.
Yeah.
It's quite complicated.
But you have to believe, to believe that there's this number thing that people believe in, numerology or something. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
This number thing.
Yeah, numerology.
Yeah. Jesus.
And it's like you can spend your entire day calculating something and you can memorize tons of different stuff and find all these patterns. And
can't you remember? I guess she said something, it all related kind of to 666, right?
I don't remember. That's Corona, when I hear this, my brain just blocks it.
I was impressed actually by her ability to find.
But you have to memorize it. You have to think about it.
Yeah.
And then it has to, I'm sure in their brain, it just clicks. Oh, wow. I just realized epiphany thing.
Well, I mean, it happens in many other ways. When we think of like our psychology, we recognize patterns, and that's how we understand our behavior.
And that's good.
And it's good. It clicks in the head, but sometimes
It's like, how biases work. We talk about biases, and they're like something negative. We don't we? Well, like people say biases are like, that's not a good thing, right? But this is basically the other side.
Who says bias is not a good thing? Bias is a regular thing. Why does
bias? I think generally they don't have a good reputation.
Interesting. Why do they have to be good or bad? Everybody has a bias.
Everyone has a bias, right?
Exists.
But
sometimes how the bias. I feel like how the bias, how you interact with situations with your bias is what like could be considered like as objective as possible in our society, good or bad. But I don't know that I would just call biases bad. We all have biases.
We all have biases, exactly. But really usually it has I'm negative
disagreeing connotation. With you.
But like
because I don't want to disagree with you again in this on this podcast episode.
The other side of biases is biases are heuristics. Heuristics are biases and biases are heuristics. It's just that when this evolutionary mechanism works, this shortcut works, we call it a heuristic. When it doesn't work, we call it a bias.
I'm really like about biases. I just really don't get why people think they're bad.
Like, because usually this is.
No, I mean I understand like it is how it does show up can be bad for me at least, but I don't know that people should be passing judgment just on the idea the the term
why not?
Bias. Because we all have biases. It's ridiculous to just say
but we all are. We all have flaws. It doesn't make them good just because they're common.
You see how that doesn't work, right?
No, I don't. I mean, something being common.
Relating,
something being common. Okay, I will.
No, you're relating in that.
Not flaws.
Do this again.
Matter.
But when you
something
use
being
flaws,
common.
Yeah, what I meant doesn't work is the use of flaws. But no, it's not. My point is not that it's just that it's common. Is that we all do have biases, and when we function, when we make decisions in general, we do them from a place of bias in many cases.
But something being common doesn't make it good or bad.
Finish the sentence.
Go ahead.
Jesus. We all have biases, and when we make decisions, they all come from a place of bias. So it takes a lack of self-awareness to call a bias just generally bad, because they're saying that every decision that you have made has a bad level to it, a bad aspect of it.
No, but I think you're using a very broad definition of bias. It's basically all your experience is bias, right?
No, not all your experience is bias, but we do form prejudices that are based on our experience. And
right.
Biases that
and
are
if there is a prejudice, specific prejudice that is relevant for this specific question,
yes, what is bad is in the interaction, but it's just doesn't make sense to label it as just generally bad. Because when we do that, then we also have to consider ourselves and how we make decisions. And do we call our decisions bad all the time? I don't think people are. So I do generally think people are not very self-aware, but I don't think that people are that devoid of awareness. But I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself. I do consider that I have biases, I have prejudices, and it impacts decisions I make. It impacts things that I say. And I would be a fool to call a bias a bad thing.
I think there are different levels to acknowledging your bias. I think most people would acknowledge, if you ask them, are you biased? Do you generally have biases? Most people would say yes. I generally have biases, but
it's a different question.
It's much more difficult
biased? Because you cannot just ask a question, are you biased? You have to be biased in a specific situation.
Well, exactly. So when you ask generally, people say yes. But it's much more difficult and uncommon for people to acknowledge a specific bias.
I don't know that. I don't know. Well, I guess, I guess it's not, people don't acknowledge it, but I feel like you should be more aware of yourself.
Well, like, I have a racial bias. I mean,
everybody has a racial bias.
But people don't actually acknowledge it.
They don't, but like, I acknowledge it. My experience has been mostly as a black person, and I have a racial biase. You do as well, even if you don't want to acknowledge it.
Everyone has it, but it's like you don't usually say it, and you don't usually think about it.
I think even if you don't say it, you just have to be at least aware of it in your head. That's my point, is that you cannot just call it a bad thing, because even if you don't say I have this bias, you know in your head that you have a bias.
Well, the thing is that you're also approaching it from like social perspective. There are social biases, yes, but there are also cognitive biases, and those like you don't really. It's not.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to be totally aware, but in whatever form a bias is, you do know biases, and you don't judge yourself as bad for having.
You don't
biases.
Judge yourself bad. Right. You judge this particular way of thinking as bad.
As having a bias, it's just inevitable. So
yes,
my
it's
point is there is no point to giving it to passing.
No, but you can take. You can be aware about it. You can take that into account. You can try to fight it.
Well, it's inevitable, in my opinion. I don't think you can fight it.
You can.
I think that you will have a bias regardless. But my point is, like, if you are aware of having a bias, you're aware that it exists. It doesn't make sense to me to just say that it's bad. But that's not our topic.
Yeah, so I think also what changed like historically. So we used to live in smaller groups, hunter-gatherers, tribes, right? And back then, I think there were not that many conspiracy theories, if any.
Why?
Because everyone kind of had their personal experience. They relied on their experience most of the time, or on the experience of someone they knew closely.
So as the larger the group became, the more differences people saw?
Oh, first, larger, you have to trust someone you don't know. Second, much more complicated and abstract. You have many abstract ideas. You don't have expertise not only to judge the idea, you don't have expertise to judge the expert who you're supposed to trust. And you don't know that person. So it just adds so many levels of abstract. What's the noun for abstract? Abstraction? That creates a lot of potential for making mistakes and creating these conspiracy theories.
I don't disagree.
You have to say you agree.
What? Why?
Because if you don't disagree, but you also don't agree.
Why? It's the same thing. I don't disagree means I agree.
No, you might know.
If I said I don't agree, does it mean I don't disagree?
You don't agree, but it doesn't mean that you disagree.
Why?
You might not have an opinion. You might not have an opinion.
The literal meaning of I shared an opinion I had already, so you know that I do have an opinion.
No, about this particular thing.
The last one you said?
Yes. I mean, you can say I don't disagree, but it doesn't mean that you actively agree.
Okay.
It is. There is a difference.
There's
saying.
No difference. It's literally
there is a difference. Okay. The religion. Let's come back. You said that you think there is a lot of relation to religion.
Yeah,
do you think
I think so.
Correlation between?
Yeah, because religion already puts people in a headspace where a lot of like unrealistic things can be real.
Unrealistic things can be real.
Mm-hmm. So people already believe in many things thanks to religion. A person believes that a demon exists thanks to religion.
So just there is this element of faith.
Yeah, just your ability to comprehend unreasonable is expanded when you're religious. So your ability, we talked about patterns, your ability to make patterns to see patterns where they are not is expanded. The video I sent you about the woman, she was talking about 666, she was talking about the mark of the devil. That only exists because she's a Christian, that she can even begin to bring that out from somewhere. And she believes that the Antichrist is coming and the Antichrist will force people. Think about vaccination during COVID vaccines. A lot of people are talking about a mark because in the Bible, the Antichrist comes and then forces people to have the mark of the Antichrist, to bear the mark of the Antichrist. For a lot of people, these vaccines were putting chips in you, which were going to be the mark of the Antichrist. So, and that's why they found a way to make 666 in Corona COVID thing. So my point is that when you're a Christian or a religious person, Muslim or whatever, your ability to comprehend the unreasonable is larger. It sounds like I'm being judgmental of Christians, but I'm not. I'm just stating a fact. Because having faith is believing in something that doesn't exist. Okay. So the possibility of something that doesn't exist to exist.
So do you think that being religious, that
just predisposes you to
like the problem, the cause is religion, or there is a compound cause that makes you more trustworthy, just
religion makes
more prone
you
to
more
believe
vulnerable.
Both religion and conspiracy.
No. I'm just saying, like, when you're a religious person, you're more vulnerable to conspiracy theories. I'm not saying it's the main reason.
No, what I'm saying is that maybe there is a common cause that makes you more prone to believe both religion and conspiracy theory. Like, for instance, just, I don't know which one. Again, like pattern recognition, increased capabilities in pattern recognition.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the common cause is. I just know that religious people are more vulnerable to conspiracy theories because they have a bigger sense for seeing patterns. In Christianity, you have to see patterns everywhere. You have to see something that God is showing you. God shows you signs all the time. You have to connect something that happened 2 weeks ago to something that happened today. And then you go, aha, it was God all the while. So even if at the beginning of your conversion, you're not seeing this, but you learn to see patterns where they don't exist. you really push push the limits on this pattern recognition thing. So when someone comes to you and tells you something, for example, there's a very popular video of this woman who used this Monster energy drink to show how it is a satanic corporation, and she does this whole thing. She turns it around. She does this whole thing with the cross. She talks about Monster energy drink packaging before and how they changed the packaging. And she has all this extreme theory that just leads to how Satan is involved in the production of this drink. And she's able to do this because she has this belief.
It's a good promo.
What?
For the drink.
Yeah, it was, I think. It's a very popular video. And she's able to believe all these things, I believe, because she just has a background in believing they're unreasonable. And that's the thing. And it's not like, I'm saying it sounds like a dig at Christians, but if you go to a church, they'll tell you, you need to forget logic. You need to forget rationale. Because being a Christian is not being rational. Being a religious person is not being rational. Being a religious person is believing that even if we have seen space and we have had telescopes and we have had people that go there, that somewhere up there is heaven. There's some kind of realm where God is walking through all of that. A believer, we have dinosaurs that existed, proof of when they existed. They're believers that still believe that 2,000 something years ago was the beginning.
Honestly, I personally, I prefer these kind of believers to believers who try to explain it and like in a logical way, and who trying to find reasons and patterns.
These are people with shaky beliefs.
Because here you just straightforwardly acknowledge that yes, there are all this stuff, but you just need to have faith.
Yeah.
And this is a totally different dimension.
That is so I think these people already who have a strong faith foundation are more like vulnerable to believing that somebody is doing something. And I think really that a lot of conspiracy theories find ways to connect to God for these people. Like if you ask, because I have some experience in church, I can possibly do it. You can give me a conspiracy theory and I will find a way to draw a conclusion to why these people are just doing this to go against God and to tarnish Christianity.
Okay. That's why religious books are usually quite long, so you can find something to work with.
And if you think of everything, people always go, if you think of many people who are conspiracy theories, a lot of them think that that Christianity is being attacked or their religion is being attacked, etc., etc., etc.
But let's try comparing Ukraine and the US in terms of
I don't know that much about how people believe in conspiracies. Yeah, I know that they believed in George Soros nonsense
in Ukraine.
Yeah,
so like I think that Ukraine generally the conspiracy theories are not as common in Ukraine. That was my initial thought.
Well, during COVID, then I was surprised actually.
No, yeah, vaccination. I think this is the most popular one in Ukraine. I think Soros. This one is more in Russia because it is promoted by federal propaganda, people. Right? So in Ukraine, but I think maybe the difference is that in the US it is a part of mainstream media.
Yeah, that's the difference.
And in Ukraine, really, you don't have any political party saying it on the news.
I mean, you must have noticed that in the past. I mean, it's always been there in the US, but in the past, let's say 15, 20 years, it has really become a huge part of it. Even the past 10 years, it has really, really, really been amplified because mainstream media decided that, we're going to go that route as well.
But the thing is, I saw one study from, I think, 2019. And Ukraine and the US were they had some conspiracy score. I don't remember how it was calculated, but basically they had the same score.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this political era has just really increased the level of conspiracy.
But I wonder if it has increased over the last 4 years significantly.
No, I think it was a gradual increase, but probably in the last 4 years, very significantly. Mostly because of mainstream media. There have been more media organizations that have been formed that just platform these people who have these conspiracy theories. There is more visibility for people who have conspiracy theories. Social media as well has really amplified this because social media gives you what you want to see. We have this, social media is like a confirmation bias machine that just provides to you exactly what
and that's what I think. I think 2019 or something, there was a spike. I don't remember which conspiracy theory, but basically it turned out that it was explained by YouTube search engine, YouTube recommendations, and then they fixed it. And we saw the data like Google Analytics.
Just think about what people Google, right? I tried it recently, but I forget what I Googled. But then when somebody, for example, if I'm Googling, is the Earth flat? I don't know how now I will find it. Probably I'd find, no, the Earth is not flat, baby. But also I'll see articles discussing whether the Earth is flat or not. I'll see somebody's article, and now with SEO and search engine optimization and Google Ads or whatever, person can boost their article as well. So it's possible that my first result will be proof why the Earth is actually flat.
That's the thing, that how do we intervene? Because when like 10% of the population believes in a conspiracy theory, it might not be that big of a deal. Some conspiracy theories are believed even by the majority of the population.
Yeah.
And that is already...
We have little time, but I was going to say, I think that it really has to come... because I don't like policing of these private companies, but I think it really has to come from a person. For example, I talked to you about the athlete today, the female athlete. Now, I could go to Google. I think what people would go to Google is blah, blah, blah person a man?
Okay.
I went and I just searched her name. And I could read real information
about her. The search has to be neutral.
Yes, you have to make a neutral search. If I believe in if I'm confused about round Earth, I should search what is the shape of the Earth, because then my answer will be the Earth shape is it. It will not be a confirmation of what I'm not asking some kind of yes or no question. I'm asking for details.
Yeah, I agree, but this is like just an advice for like a person who cares about it, but that's not going to work.
I thought that's where we were at the podcast. We have to try to change the world.
No, yeah.
And here I am giving my advice.
No, but this is like, 10 tips how to search information properly.
No, it's just it's just one tip. Don't fucking search to confirm what you believe.
I agree, but what I'm interested in is, as media, right? The best practice of media is what? To give two sides of the story. The best practice of media is also to give more time to those who don't have power. That is also another thing.
I think that we should talk about media on another episode, because this two sides things, I have a lot to say about civil conversation and two sides things. I don't like it. I don't think the job of media is to represent two sides. The job of media is to give the truth. Well, not all media.
Okay, let's talk about it another episode.
Yeah. For now, people, make neutral searches, okay? It'll save your life. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, okay, should I give another advice about it? Well, okay, it's so
You have like 10 seconds, Jesus Christ.
Subscribe to people with different opinions.
I don't agree with you.
I agree with myself. Duh.